All right, so we have here pulled up 160 acres. Let's zoom in. Right between Wallace and Alamo of Montgomery. This is in Indiana. So we're in the county near Crawfordsville. And this is his name is Charles Roundtree. This is obviously a family member of mine. And I say that because my grandfather's name was Charles Roundtree. Um, you look the distance between right here in Detroit and my best friend Richard, he went to Indianapolis with his family and he stayed there. So you can see you have the Richard Roundtrees, you have the Charles Roundtrees, and then you also have right here Chicago where we're from. Me, my grandfather, and my childhood best friend. We grew up on the Wabash. Anybody knows where Wabash is in Chicago, that's where we grew up at. My grandfather grew up on Wabash. I grew up on Wabash. You know what I mean? And this is obviously a river we used because it connects to Chicago. It also connects to Gary. So this is 160 acres. I just contacted the economic development team in Crawfordsville and asked them, how can I use this land? How can I benefit from it? Um, how can I uh, get my hands on it? Say like, maybe there's businesses on it because I don't know like what's in it. It's probably I don't know like if it's undeveloped. I don't know if it's people living in these areas. Stillwater Creek. I don't know, but these are large streets, county roads. So we know about county roads, they're often undeveloped. So like if he owned this land and it hasn't been canceled, maybe family members can get to this land. Because you look at our names like Roundtree, Ellis, you look at our names, they're still attached to these lands through land patents. There's families out there that don't even know they have a great 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 grandfather who owned 200 acres of land and they're not using it. They don't know that they have land out there. I'm sure this man has grandchildren. Like again, I don't know who this person is. Um, but like when you look at the distance between families and tribes, this could be a grandfather of mine. Like you never know. This could be a great uncle, a grandfather. You just never know. And like I need to go on ancestry.com and see how many records I can trace back on my grandfather's side. That's the only way I would sign up for a subscription, just to get that record to see who goes far back on the Roundtree side. I can't get back far on the Roundtree side. If we can get back on the Roundtree side, I'm going to see a lot of different things that I need to see. Because again, like my mother was saying this, my grandfather, he has grandchildren. We could benefit from something like this. You see what I mean? Like if there's land out there, we could benefit from something like this. You never know what land is not being used, and you may have a great 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 grandfather out there who bought land like this, 160 acres, and you don't know this that you can use it. You don't know it's in your family name. You don't know it's in you know, your family. You don't know. So it's not a U.S. reservation. It's not a mineral reservation. There's no tribe affiliation attached to it. So this is like primal land. So you think, right? If Native Americans have a U.S. reservation, don't you think like there's a black family somewhere who hasn't canceled um, their land patent to let Native Americans use it? Because this is right here. This is saying general remarks. This is saying authority. So if you let someone use land, you give them a deed, they call it a U.S. reservation. You know what I mean? Like, what's going to happen when our population starts to boom again? What's going to happen with like these reservations? Are the past families going to come back and claim that land and kick Native Americans off? You see what I mean? This is 160 acres of land issued in the summer of 1827. Like, do you know how good that would feel like for someone to get 160 acres of land in between creeks and rivers? Like that's just like man. Then they got the meridian right here when the sun goes up and the sun goes down. Um, how far off it is from a township. The coordinates, they got all this stuff where it's section off at, survey number. I think like when we had all our lands under our names and we had like all the different families like having land, because like we say family, we don't necessarily say tribe. You know what I mean? Like we say family. And you look at all the people who were using Latin. This is when we were teaching other nations how to speak Spanish, how to speak, all these different derivatives of Latin, like English. There's so many derivatives of Latin. So you just can't say like people just speak English or they don't speak English well. There's so many derivatives of Latin. This is why you see our people, they like to, they like to rap. Our people are good at rapping. Look at this, man. This is just so much. You can't even go on Google Maps and like zoom in on this type of land right here. You will have to drive out there and see what's out there. Like this is prime land. And like me, I would prefer to live in the north more so than the south because the north is so much convenience. The north is so much convenience. Like you buy a large untapped resource of water in Lake Michigan. You got creeks in the north, as also you do in the south. But like in the north, it just seems more convenient because you're right by Chicago. Like this is Indiana. It's right on Chicago. So like I gotta find out what like who's trying to get this land, who are they? Like I wanna know. This is great, man. Like this. Charles Roundtree. You see what I mean? Like, if it hasn't been canceled, like, what is the county waiting on? You know what I mean? Who who can come and say I'm a relative or a descendant of this person? I would like to be I would like to appeal. I would like to appeal to use this land. You can be someone who don't even have a direct descendant or a direct name for this particular person. You can just be a regular Joe Smo, a regular African American, a regular Caucasian, and come along and say, I want to appeal to use this land through family inheritance. I'm related to this person. No one of his descendants is claiming this land. 160 acres? The county can review your claim. You can get something in the mail later and say you have been queued and cleared to use this land. You see what I'm saying? Like, it can be anything like that. And it's like, you got, what is this? I've seen roads like this in a country. But like you see this country, like it has to be so much life on it. Like it's so much food on this land, like already. You can put a bunch of crabs right here in this little area right here. You see what I mean? You can put fish in these areas, in these little streams. You know, you can like haul a bunch of worms and just put them in the areas where there's a lot of plushness and areas where there's not plushness. You can put them in areas where this, the soil may not be as good. You can just haul a bunch of worms and just spread them out. Like we don't even have to go and like make an island. Like North America is an island unto itself. This is what I'm saying, man. Like, how does a man get 160 acres? His family must have passed this down to him. Cause I don't see how you acquire 160 acres without being a millionaire. I don't see how you do that. So like his father must have gave him this land. You know what I mean? Or they must have put their money together, him and his wife, and they gave their son this land. Like it doesn't make sense. Like how do you get 160 acres? We were supposed to get 40 acres in reparations, right? In restitution. This man has 160 acres in 1827. You got to think like what's happening in 1827? Like all the wars that have happened on this land with the Indian wars and stuff like that. He ends up with 160 acres in Indiana. Right by Chicago. Chicago is the hub of America, the top hub. You get 160 acres near Chicago, like imagine what you can do with that. Like seriously, imagine what you can do with that. So you got hyperlinks down here. No Fear Act, DOI, disclaimer, White House. Like you can contact the White House right now and be like, I need to talk to a department who deals with, the matter of acquiring land or ceding land. I am a direct descendant of this person, Roundtree. Like all the Roundtrees can like settle in this area right here, this area, this area, this area. Like you can resettle families. Like we already know who the Roundtrees are. We know who the Roundtrees are. Like you have so many family names in like our culture, like African Americans. Like we can resettle families here in this like this on this 160 acres of land. We can resettle families on here. Forget renting out like 160 acres, man. You will never see me in a city again like 160 acres. Let me be clear to live on this land. I'm taking a haul and a homestead and I'm just disappearing. I'm gonna fence this whole area off. Like, man. But I don't think I'll be able to fence it off, like, cause it's roads running through here. But I will fence the area off, like right in here somewhere, next to a road. I will fence it off. That's exactly what I'm about to do. I'm about to contact the White House and see about this. I already contacted Crawfordsville Land Office. Um, I downloaded the pad. Like, I want to know who it is. It may be a white man. It may be a black man. Who knows? Like he carried the last name Roundtree, 160 acres, without the designations to acquiring this land. Do you have to be a family member? Like, how does this work? If you bought it in 1827, it hasn't been canceled. What happens with the children of this land? This is why I think I'm a descendant of this person, because it's right on the Wabash. All the Roundtrees are on the west side of Chicago and the south side of Chicago. They should be on the south side of Chicago by now, because when we left, they were on the west side. So it's like, if you have Roundtrees in South Carolina, Illinois, these family names are going to put you right in these areas. Like my cousin, he's a Roundtree. He's in Gary, Indiana. This is not far from Gary, Indiana. This is what I'm saying. Like, when you grow up on a street, on a block or something like that, and like you have family in that area, it's more than likely their mothers and fathers and their mothers' mothers and fathers and their mothers' mothers' mothers and fathers, going all the way back. They traveled, I don't want to say traveled, but they frequented that land, that area that you're in. They frequented. So like, if you having all these families growing out and having kids and they never leave a particular place because they don't know to leave, they have no um understanding to leave. All they know is that I'm in this area. My grandparents was in this area. My grandparents were in this area. You're gonna grow out and ultimately end up in areas like this right here, Montgomery. You're in Chicago. You're gonna touch this place right here. You're gonna touch plush, untapped land. So like, if we're in areas where cities are built, imagine when that city wasn't developed. Where were the people living? They couldn't have been far off. This is what I'm saying. They probably was like living in areas where, like this right here. They was probably living off a road in an area right here, getting all their food from a stream, like right here. Like, if you're living in under trees, they could have been eating off the land. Like, cause I look at Chicago, like there's no real, like, when you look at grocery stores in some of our communities, like grocery chains just really start popping up. Like before, like you look at some of these communities, they never had a grocery store. You know, so it's like, how was our families from back then really living off the land? They had to been planting stuff. They had to been eating stuff off the vines, off fences. They had to been eating leaves, hunting deer, hunting wildlife, hunting coons, hunting possum, hunting venison. Dehydrating fish. So like, this stuff is important, man. Like, you can't sleep on this stuff. Like, something told me to like do a search on the BLM, because I tried it before and I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have any luck. You know, hell out of hot water. I look up on it now. All I see is my family members on here. Hell out of hot water. You see, this is not a reservation. It's not. It's not affiliated with a tribe, a militia. So I'm finna look this up right here and see what this means. I want to see what that exactly means. But yeah, do your research on this stuff, man, because like your family records are out there. Like I don't know any African American who doesn't have an heirship to a land patent, given you have a last name and a first name. We need to keep our names. The names that we have right now, just keep them, because these names go back and they're going to be um, used on land patents. Somewhere you have a great uncle, a great auntie, a great grandfather, a great grandmother, and they have a land patent. You see what I mean? This is nice right here, boy. This is nice. See right here, Little Raccoon Creek. My grandfather, he ate raccoon. He ate possum. He had family in Georgia that were Creeks. This stuff is so raw, man. Like, I never looked at it like the reason I wanted to change my name is because, like, I felt like, why did I just give myself a name that'll tie me back to the Treaty of Morocco? Then I thought about it like, why would the judge deny me privilege in using my name to have heirship to that Treaty of Morocco? Because I went to the courts back in 2019, the Sousa one. I tried to sue a company for not hiring me, and I wanted to use the Treaty of Morocco. And the lady, the clerk, she put my name on there, and I didn't tell her to. She put my name on there. It's Denzel Early. I wanted to use my free national name. She like, no, you got to use this name. And I get a letter from the judge. She dismissed my stuff with prejudice. She like, in so many words, you can't use Denzel Early to the 1787 Treaty of Peace and Friendship. I'm like, well, then what treaty can I use for my name? I have an EL in my name. I have two ELs in both of my names. What treaty can I use with this? You see what I'm saying? Like, what treaty can I use with my name as it is? Like, why can't I use it for the Moroccan treaty? Um, I would love to know, like, cause like it's a lot of information not being told. You know what I mean? And it's weird because it's like, why don't we have Arabic names now? We had Arabic names in like the 1700s, but why don't we have them now? That's what I'm saying. Like when I go back and look at my family tree in the 1700s, I have a grandfather who has a Arabic name. I don't think all of us had these names, but like we must have had like two names because like me, I have two names. I have a first, middle, and last name, and I also have a free national name. Um, yeah, I'm finna get on this, man, cause like you just never know. You see it right there, Kankakee, man, and Wabash. Kaskaskia, Kaskaskia. I never heard of this place right here. So you got the Mississippi, Kankakee, Wabash, right on the Indiana River, going into Lake Michigan. It's people in these countries who come over here and they ride around all day seeing what we have. You got Prairie Creek, Sugar Creek, Walnut Fork Sugar Creek, Big Raccoon Creek, Little Raccoon Creek, Cold Creek, Vernon Creek. I look at the street I was born on in Chicago, Justine, and I'm like, that's a family and that's also a tribe. How is it that you have Caucasians who are all over Europe, but none of these names follow them over there? And yet, when you speak to a European, they don't necessarily know their entire history. They don't know whether their parents are German. They don't know. All they know is they're American. They're in America. That's all they know. We kept records. We kept records of, right now, you go to Crawfordsville, go to the county records office. You're going to see records in there of African Americans. Thorntown, you're going to see records in there of African Americans. Ventersburg, you're going to see Covington, you're going to see records in there of African Americans. Lebanon, Zionsville, Brownsburg. You go to these places, you say, well, am I going to see a Lebanese? You see what I mean? And it's our history all along. This says 958 feet. If you're at the right elevation in some of these places, you're not going to need a hospital near you. I'm telling you right now. You're not going to be having migraines. Like some of these cities need to be torn down and rebuilt. Like I feel like Detroit needs to be torn down and rebuilt. We can just leave Detroit like it is and just come back later and fix it up. Seriously. This spot right here is where you meditate and you just never leave. And like some of these people who be working in these offices, like you go to some of these county record offices, they be knowing what's really going on, but they never really want to say what's going on. Like if you give somebody this type of land, 160 acres, you get them that type of land, who knows? Like it says sell cash entry. Like what exactly does that mean? So if it was issued in 1827, and it has an authority from 1820, it hasn't been canceled. You don't know. I can contact the civil rights office, put in a claim. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want this land. No one's claiming it. If I claim this land and I get it, I don't have to worry about someone coming behind me saying, I'm going to claim it now. My grandfather is a Roundtree. I can name my son, my daughter after my grandfather. We have pictures. We have genealogy records. So all we need is a good lawyer, a good judge. There's no confusion. Great peace, Yakoki.